Welcome back to another episode in our series of 1,000 Evidences for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. This one, number 180, is about Joseph Smith's prophecies that critics think was a false prophecy. Critics have accused Joseph Smith of prophesying falsely that in this generation a temple would be built in this place, which they interpret to be Jackson County, Missouri. That's written in Doctrine and Covenants, section 84, verse 4. As historian Eldon Watson pointed out, there are two different portions of this revelation. The first portion, in verse 2 and 3, states that the city of New Jerusalem will be built in the western boundaries of the state of Missouri. The second portion, verses 4 and 5, begin a new thought and contain the actual prophecy. It states that a temple will be reared in this place. The location of this place has been confusing because the first two verses of the Revelation spoke of the state of Missouri and the temple which will be built in Jackson County. Then the Revelation shifts by saying that the New Jerusalem spoken of will be begun by the gathering of the saints at this place, even the place of the temple. This place has reference to the geographical location of Joseph Smith while receiving this revelation. And where was he? He was in Kirtland, Ohio. This means that the temple which shall be reared in this generation was the Kirtland temple, not the temple in Jackson County, Missouri. If the Lord had intended to mean that the temple would be built in Jackson County, Missouri, he would have more appropriately said, at that place, because Joseph Smith was in Kirtland, not in Missouri. That the temple was to be built by the gathering of the saints beginning at this place also points to Kirtland, since that was the specific location where the gathering of the saints had begun. As early as January 1831, the Lord had commanded the saints to gather to the Ohio, at which place they would receive an endowment from on high. That's in Doctrine and Covenants, section 38, verses 31 and 32. And the Kirtland temple fulfilled the rest of the requirements. The Revelation in section 84 goes on to say that an house shall be built, and a cloud will rest upon it, and the glory of the Lord will fill the house. In speaking of the dedication of the Kirtland temple, Oliver Cowdery testified that a cloud, which was the glory of the Lord, I saw the glory of God, he said, like a great cloud come down and rest upon the house. I also saw cloven tongues, like as if of fire, rest upon many, while they spake with other tongues and prophesied. This is found in Encyclopedia of Mormonism, 4 volumes, edited by Daniel H. Ludlow, New York, Macmillan, 1992. Volume 1, page 338. Also, while the critics have been insisting on having the right to interpret these prophecies as referring only to Missouri and not to Ohio, they do not clarify their connotation of the term generation. It can mean more than just a transition from parent to child. It can mean a general grouping of people over a general time period. Jesus referred to the Pharisees and Sadducees as a generation of vipers. Peter told the people that they were a chosen generation. That's in 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 9. To the LDS people, the word generation, as used in the prophecy, can mean a dispensation of time. That last dispensation, which would allow the fulfillment of this prophecy to extend up until the second coming of Christ. There is also a revelation in the Doctrine and Covenants which relieves the saints of the command to build a temple when their enemies prevent them. The biblical precedent is that God instructed Jonah to warn the Ninevites that their city would be destroyed. There's no conditions, no ifs, ands, or buts. But when they did repent, and it was not destroyed, after all, Jonah thought God was a liar. As you can see, the LDS prophets made no false prophecies, in spite of the whining and whimpering of the critics. The gospel is true. The church is true. If you are not a member, please consider joining. We'd love to have you with us. There is much more to come. Don't miss any of the interesting information. And remember, call. Don't fall. Call on the Lord of good news. Don't fall for the negative, critical, bad news of the fault finders.